What is the future of Syria, Yemen, Libya, and Iraq, in your
Very
opinion?
dim, very dim.
Do you think they survive as countries?
Well, you're getting into a very difficult issue here. Is what is more important in Iraq? Is it national sovereignty? Is it Shia or Sunni questions? Is it tribal questions and so forth? It a little bit depends on the day. There is an Iraq flag, and there's an Iraqi nation. It's not a united nation. It's not a nation united. One hopes that all of the lines that were drawn on maps by the colonial powers were exactly right. One knows they are not. So therefore, you have got Kurdistan up here, and you've got too many Shia over here, and too many Sunni over here, and so forth. So I would say the future of Iraq is if those tribes can get along with each other. Remember, this evolution has been going on since 640, or actually earlier. And you just start thinking about this evolutionary process and think if you try and force it, because technology now lets us know more than we know, and we have bigger weapons or something, we're now going to force things to happen. Some things can't be forced evolutionarily. And I would suggest the answer to your questions is that Yemen is a funny country. It's not really popular with even the Yemeni these days, it seems. They're split up into different tribes. They've got a lot of different feelings. Can't seem to get a leader together. A lot of violence. The Saudis don't want them there anyway. And you start looking back in a history, read something like Kagan's history of how this all started there, and you think, yeah, these people ought to be more cohesive. Why isn't in all of these years? What happened? And the answer is they just never got together with a common denominator that they all agreed on. We got together with a common denominator called the Constitution of the United States of America. We all agreed with it. They don't have that, and they have all these different aberrations of what they believe, and some of them are very, very incompatible. I think Libya probably can hold together if they ever could figure out how to get some discipline into place. But if you look at it, it's the hunters and gatherers and the farmers. You've got the nomad people here, and then you've got the different religion thrown in. And almost last on the list of loyalties is nationhood. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you talk about Iran with a true Persian, you get a very different answer than if you talk about Iran with somebody who happens to live there but who is not an Iranian. Mm-hmm. They're Iranian because they're there, but they moved there.
And what about the Assad regime?
The Assad
regime.
Well, the Assad regime, I'm amazed. I mean, it is the most botched piece of foreign business that I can think of in my lifetime. If I thought a little longer, I could probably find a worse one. But it is so badly botched. It need not have happened this way. And we now don't... I mean, we've got friends fighting with friends and enemies joining up with friends to be our enemy. It is just an insane situation. And how it got here, when you look back, again, my answer to that is because we disengaged at a time when we should have engaged. Now, Lebanon has always been a tough place to try and get the tripartite together. Is Lebanon a one country, or is it three countries under one flag? Okay, I don't know. Syria, actually, Damascus, a very old, biblical place. These folks ought to be together. And I would think that the problem in Syria is too many mischief makers, the Ayatollah being clearly the principal one now with the Russians, people who feel that they have interests in the area taking sides that are not in the interests of Syria. But Assad is not really worried about Syria, he's worried about Assad. So when you go back to what's going to happen in Syria, yes, there's going to be a country of Syria. Yes, it will get settled someday. I'm surprised somebody hasn't come up with enough money and a good chateau someplace for Assad to get him out of power and put somebody in there, work out a power sharing arrangement. If they weren't going to do it the other way, that would have been the right way to do it. Didn't happen. I think Syria will hold together. I think there will always be a Syria. I think there will always be a Yemen. I think there will always be a Libya. I think there'll always be in Iran, there'll always be in Iraq, but I don't think it will necessarily look exactly the same way.
But you and your wife are not taking any vacation there soon.
No, I definitely am not. And there's a lot of places. I'm not even going to Cuba. There's a lot of places I don't go. But I really honestly believe that this process needs to be worked out by the peoples in the area, as it has been over the years and centuries evolving. But our job is to take out the people who are frustrating that process. And those are the radical Islamists who are basically creating a new caliphate based on this extraordinary interpretation of how you get to paradise, and this is what Allah really wants. Now, I don't pretend to understand it all. I just say that I know it's working because they're getting recruits, they're increasing their numbers, they are ever more violent, and I see them out there taking ever more territory, and they couldn't be doing it unless they had a persuasive message. That message is overpowering the natural evolutionary process that has been going on, even though the British got the maps wrong and the Belts got the maps wrong. And it's in Africa, it's all over Africa too, of course. So you have to say, you got to get the troublemakers off the field so that the people who need to make the negotiations can get back to their normal living.